All right, fellas, what's going on? Riding solo for the time being. I think Danny's sleeping in or something. But basically, what we're going to be doing in today's live stream, we're going to be tackling a Dynasty Superflex PPR 1.5 tight end premium mock draft. If you guys want to get into the draft, I have left the link in the chat. I have left the link into our Discord as well if you're in there. So once this draft fills up, then we can get rolling and we can get started. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to fire them into the comment section, and I will definitely answer those. So I'm just gonna throw this one more time into the chat here. We got Smooth Criminal. What's going on? What's going on, Jared? He was the first one in here. What up? What up? Got some people filing into the chat now. You love to see it. Again, the link for the mock draft is right here. If you guys want to join it, it is a Dynasty Superflex 1.5 tight end premium PPR as well. And then once this thing gets going, we can get rolling. So people look to be filing in at the moment. Yeah. How's everybody doing? We got a middle of June day, so not a whole lot going on in the NFL, right? I think OTAs and mini camps and stuff are kind of wrapping up. We're still seeing some practice clips here and there, but for the most part, we are not really to the point in the offseason that anything matters. Once training camps open at the end of July is when we really start caring about stuff. So with that spirit, we're kind of just reacting to some news. Obviously, Bobcat asked right here, what do we do with Madison now that he's the starter? So in dynasty leagues, I've seen some pretty crazy overreactions on Twitter. I've seen people say that he's like a top 15 dynasty running back, top 18 dynasty running back. While I do kind of understand why people are going there, because running back's a very short shelf life position. If you have 1 year projection for a guy like Madison, it could definitely lead to some good production and that kind of thing. I think if you had Madison before, you're just happy that he's the starter now. And if you are looking to like buy him, you're probably going to have to pay like at least an early second, if not a late first in most leagues. And for me, I just can't get there. If I could get a first round pick for him, especially if I'm not contending, I would absolutely sell Madison. I have yet to update my rankings after the Madison news, so I'm probably going to go through that maybe live. I'll kind of discuss where I have him ranked. But for me, he would be like after the J.K. Dobbins area of my dynasty rankings. He'd probably be just before where I have like Cam Akers ranked. If I had to guess, that's probably where he'll kind of slot in. So it looks like we need 2 more people to fill out this mock draft, and then we'll get this thing going. Link is up in the chat if you guys want to check it out. Kyle's in. What's going on, Christian? What up? Are we buying into the Sam Howell hype? I mean, I've literally thought Sam Howell was one of the better was the best quarterback in the 22 class when I graded him. So I'm absolutely buying into the Sam Howell hype. Someone took him in the 6th round. Okay, I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I am buying into him at cost. Classic Dick Cheese accumulator. I laugh at this fucking name every time I see it. In a half PPR Dynasty Superflex startup, picking at the 109, is Bijan a better option than the quarterbacks going there? Watson, Richardson, possibly Trevor. If Trevor is there, I would absolutely take Trevor Lawrence over Bijan Robinson. If you wanted to take Bijan over Watson and Richardson, I don't mind it. But if Trevor Lawrence falls there, it's an auto smash. He is absolutely the pick, in my opinion. All right, looks like we are full. We are full in this draft. Let's get this thing rolling. I am going to go picture on picture here, and then I will randomize the draft order. Draft settings, draft order, randomize teams. Let's see where everybody is picking here. There we go. Okay, so I'm picking at the 109. We got Chase Pink picking at the 101. Again, before we start the draft, Dynasty Superflex 1.5 tight end premium PPR league. So just keep that in mind. It is at the top of your screen there. You guys can see it right up here. It should say the scoring settings. So I'm gonna hit the start draft button. 60-second clocks. Nobody auto draft or you're fired. We got, do you value running backs much higher in Dynasty with 0.25 per carry and 0.5 per first down? I would say, yeah, that would definitely cause me to favor running backs a lot higher than I would initially do it, especially like the high end guys like Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. Those guys would definitely carry more weight in trades. It depends. I mean, higher is a relative term, but yes, I definitely would think that they would go up in value for sure. What's going on, Brock? Nate says, good morning, gents. Just me at the moment, but what's up? What's up? We got Mahomes off the board as the first pick. What's going on, Kevin? Took my favorite underdog team of the year yesterday. Yes, you love to see it. Speaking of underdog fantasy, they do have season-long pick'em lines going right now. So you can basically, like, if you're really high on like Dameon Pierce, for example, I'm pretty sure his pick'em line for touchdowns is like 4.5. And if you're like, hey, he's going to score more than 4.5 rushing touchdowns this year, you can head on over to Underdog. Of course, use the promo code FSC if you don't have an account already, and you can build out like a pick'em line of season-long props, which I think is really cool. And I'm probably going to do DeSource, you're fired. Auto picking Jalen Hurts. Hate to see it. 102, he's already auto picking. But basically, what we're looking at is with these Underdog pick'em lines, you can basically like put your chips into the middle. If you're high on players, you can go ahead and do that. And like I said, use promo code FSC when you do. I'm probably going to drop a video tomorrow kind of my like early flag plants, guys that I think are big time values on in redraft leagues. So I'll start getting into a little bit of season long content. Of course, it'll have dynasty ramifications as well, because if you're in a contending window, obviously those guys will be very valuable and maybe undervalued on the market. But I'll probably highlight some of their pick'em lines in that video. Good day, football nerds. What's going on, Mac? Yeah, I mean, the fact that we got some D-gens in here, June 11th, nothing going on in the NFL, and we got a dynasty mock draft going. You love to see it. Mike says, I have pick 109 in his one quarterback draft today. So how many of you guys are still having rookie drafts? So to me, it's a little bit wild that people are still having them, but I guess, some of you guys are not as big of degenerates as I am. Like we had all of our rookie drafts like right after the draft. So I didn't have any left for a while, but I'm going to make this pick and then I'll help you out here, Mike. I think Justin Fields is my highest rated player. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Justin Fields. Could have went with Chase as well, but to me, I want to lock down a quarterback, especially knowing, I mean, you guys know what the deal is in these rooms. We all just absolutely fiend quarterbacks. So Mike says he has 109 in his one quarterback draft. No Robinson and Gibbs are going 1-2. No wide receivers are going to be the next pick. Do you like the secondary running backs or wide receivers, or go with a top tight end or quarterback? So for me, the way that I have it like ranked in my one quarterback drafts, I mean, it also would depend if this is a tight end premium as well. But if Dalton Kincaid is there at 109, I think he's definitely worth that pick. I also would love Charbonnet there if he's there at 109. And hopefully, I mean, I don't think Zay Flowers will be there because you said the wide receivers are going to be the next picks. The way I would rank it is I would go Zay Flowers, Dalton Kincaid, Zach Charbonnet, assuming, of course, that Gibbs, Robinson, Addison, QJ are off the board, which they probably would be. And maybe a quarterback goes before that point. But also, if you were in a quarterback needy situation, I think that's about the range that I would start to consider Anthony Richardson in a one quarterback league as well. So we see the first round close out: Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Deshaun Watson. Brock's probably going to tail end his quarterback, I would imagine, just knowing that he an avid follower of the channel here. Trey Lance, he goes with Bryce Young. Trey Lance or Kenny Pickett in Dynasty. I never thought I would utter this sentence in my life, but I'm taking Kenny Pickett. I don't love the job security concern for Trey Lance, and to me, that's the biggest part of being a Dynasty quarterback long term, is that you have to be a starter. So the fact that the 49ers have been, non-committal towards Trey Lance, and if anything, they've been the opposite. They've said that Brock Purdy will be the starter when he's on the field. He could get traded to a different team or whatever, but that would impact his value, in my opinion. So I'm going to take Kenny Pickett, just knowing that he closed out his rookie season strong. He definitely has some upside with some weapons around him. I'm just going to take Kenny Pickett in that situation. So Bijan goes off the board. I never get Bijan in mocks. I kind of wanted him there, but he does go off the board. But I do thankfully still have some QBs that I value highly. Kyler Murray being my highest valued quarterback. Justin Fields, Kyler Murray start. Love to see it. Probably going to aim to go more productive struggle. As we always talk about in Dynasty startups, you want to stay fluid. You want to stay, water here. But knowing that I started with my two bookend quarterbacks, I'm aiming at least to get a young wide receiver there at the 3-9 when it comes back around. Hopefully like an Olave or Drake London or something falls back to me. But knowing you guys, they'll probably be off the board. Oh man, no third round reversal. My spot is gross. Yeah, third round reversal is something that I've experimented with. I think it's interesting, but I'm not a huge third round reversal guy. Shannon Jackson, why? What's going on? Auto at 102, really? You hate to see it. Where should Dak go in superflex startups, PPR tight end premium? Well, I guess we're about to see, because he's probably going to go off the board here soon. And I think this is the range that I would take Dak Prescott, is in the like mid-second round area. He's a little bit older among these like foundational quarterbacks, but he's definitely going to be a guy that you can rely on. He has weapons. He's got, experience finishing as a multi-time top 5, top 6 quarterback. So for me, I think this is about the range that he should go off the board. What's going on, Pionio? My bad for the auto Wi-Fi acting up. You hate to see it. Send Bijan and Kincaid for Brees and Olave. That's an interesting question. I think the difference between Olave and Kincaid is far different than the difference between Brees and Bijan. So I think I would take Brees and Olave there, Pionio. Thinking about trading Higgins for the 104 and a 12-team superflex non-tight end premium. Fair deal. Only have Justin Fields and Mac Jones as my quarterbacks. I personally would rather have T. Higgins than CJ Stroud straight up. In your situation, if you wanted to say it's like a position of need type of situation, sure. But at the same time, I would probably only make this trade if I knew that Bryce Young was going to be there at 104. Just knowing that Higgins is such a lockdown, like stable asset, I would potentially be willing to shop Higgins for a quarterback now, like a win now quarterback, like Dak Prescott, for example, would be a perfect example. I probably wouldn't shop him for CJ Stroud straight up. If you could get maybe a tiny little plus on top of that, I don't think it's bad, but it all depends on your league market too. If you're in a league where you know the quarterbacks are valued extremely highly, I think that's also not a horrible thing. Man got fired on a Sunday morning. I'm at pick 11. Yeah, I think Mad Titans got a decent start there. CeeDee Lamb and Anthony Richardson. I'm a little lower on Richardson relative to startup costs. Like in rookie drafts, yeah, I think he's worth his spot or whatever, but I can't take Anthony Richardson thinking that he might become Kyler Murray when Kyler Murray is readily available on the board. Like you're hoping that Anthony Richardson turns into what Kyler Murray already is at 26 years old. So for me, I can't take him over Murray. I probably like he's borderline there with Dak Prescott as well. I think I would potentially take Prescott over him, but I think the ceiling play, especially if you want to go with a younger asset early on in drafts, is Richardson. So don't mind that start there. We already addressed this question, Brandon. DC accumulator picking live with you at 106. So yeah, I personally would have gone Lawrence and Dak in your spot there, McFly, but I think AJ Brown's definitely a good value. Also love that start for who's a smooth criminal. Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Kyle Pitts. Again, this is a 1.5 tight end premium, full PPR for the other positions. But yeah, Pitts at the end of the second round, early third round, I think is such a sweet spot when you're talking about tight end premium leagues, because we got to remember that in a tight end premium format, if Kyle Pitts takes a big step forward this year, and again, he had one of the better rookie seasons we've seen from a tight end, top 4 overall draft capital, elite athleticism. He got injured last year and played on one of the most run-heavy offenses the last 20 years. So nothing was going his way. If Ritter can be average, below average quarterback, and they don't throw at a league low or all-time low type of rate, there's still going to be a bottom 5, bottom 10 pass attempt offense. I'm not, debating that. But we have like a 25% target share tight end who's like 22 years old and already has 1,000 yards under his belt. And 1,000-yard season, under his belt. So for me, Kyle Pitts has the chance that if he had a breakout season this year, he could really elevate himself in tight end premiums to like a back end of the first round pick. Because when you got a tight end that young who represents such a positional advantage, assuming he actually becomes a positional advantage from a redraft perspective, then it's really, really going to elevate his value on the market. And I think he's such a easy buy. He's easily the best buy at tight end, in my opinion, right now, especially if you're trying to go to like a rebuilding type of mold. He's a good buy low candidate if you're like tearing it down and selling off Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp and all these like rebuild or contending type of pieces. Going after Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense. My rookie league home draft is on Zoom, not a slow draft, so we have to come up with a time that works. Oh yeah, that's so brutal. Trying to do a fast draft for a rookie draft to me is just such a big mistake. I understand some people want to do it, but I want to trade when I'm on the clock. Like that's why I think I prefer slow drafts in both startups and in rookie drafts. Attack of Titans says traded picks 2 to 6 in 2 separate trades to acquire Mahomes and Lawrence. You got for picks 2 to 6. What the hell? Dynasty where you start 3 quarterbacks, dude. That's insane, man. In a dynasty league where you can start 3 quarterbacks, Mahomes should be absolutely untradeable. Like there should be no reasonable way that you can actually acquire that guy. So the fact that you got him and Lawrence is pretty fucking insane. No, you definitely did not give up too much. If I'm reading this correctly, it sounds like you gave up the 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106, which I think is not nearly enough for those 2 guys in a league where you can start that many quarterbacks. So I am on the board here. Again, I was hoping a young receiver fell to me. One did. Drake London, grab him there with the 3-9. Hopefully I can come back around and maybe grab some more foundational guys there. Would you pay a first for a running back like Josh Jacobs when the running back room is Bijan, Gibson, Damian Harris, Rashad Penny, and Tank Bigsby? I mean, you got yourself a pretty solid hero RB built out there, so I don't think you're in need of a running back, assuming the rest of your team is very strong. You said you have Watson and Lamar. That's definitely very good. Garrett Wilson, Waddle, London, Terry, and JSN, also pretty solid. So for me, If I were in your spot, ID up or ID up, I would not make this move just because you're relying on a lot of young players for production. And knowing that your receiver core is as young as it is, knowing that Bijan's a rookie, I think you're in a house money year right now. I wouldn't force it. I wouldn't go out and get Jacobs unless maybe we get to midseason and JSN looks like the next Justin Jefferson or something. You know what I mean? Like if we get into the midseason point, all your young wide receivers are performing. But for me, it seems a tad risky to invest in a 24, 25-year-old running back who has 1,000 career carries under his belt, knowing that you might not have a good enough team to compete this year. But if you're patient and you get like a mid-first next year, you could just add another rookie running back into this mix, and then him and Bijan could carry your core. Your wide receivers obviously will be another year into the league, another year older, and they'll be into their prime. So for me, I would treat this as a house money year unless, mid-season you're at a point where you can like trade for a Josh Jacobs on the low and push your chips to the middle at that point. So we're going to actually make a video about house money contenders and why I think it's one of the best positions to be in from a dynasty perspective. And we'll kind of show you examples similar to what we did with like the number one rebuilding strategy, the number one contending strategy videos. We're definitely going to showcase like what we're talking about when we say house money, because we say it so much. And I feel like we've never actually defined the term. Basically what it means is you have a team like iDubbbz here. You have a team where your players are young. You have foundational quarterbacks, foundational wide receivers. Your team this time next year is not going to be any worse off. In fact, it will be better off because your young players will have matured a little bit more. So that's kind of what we're referring to with house money. And we'll definitely go into some more detail there. Brock said he just made a pro gamer move. Bryce Young will bring the Panthers a Super Bowl in his career. I'm confident. Yeah, dude, I love Bryce Young. Okay, so I'm on the board again here. Looking at the board, I'm trying to build out more of a productive struggle type of shell. So I'm probably not going to mess around with Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, even though I think Etienne's probably a decent value at this point, as is Daniel Jones, who I don't think is terrible. I am going to probably lean Jordan Addison, I think, at tight end. Yeah, there's nothing that really interests me too much. So I'm going to go with Jordan Addison, who's my highest rated wide receiver. I have him similarly ranked to JSN, so getting a small discount there. Same with Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf. I have those guys kind of all in the same tier. Sorry, fam, couldn't resist. In a startup, I have the 101 and I traded up for the 102. Got Mahomes and Hurts off the rip. Let me know what you paid for that. I'd be curious to know what you ended up paying for that. I hope it was not a shit ton, although it probably was given the value of those two picks. I've only played regular fantasy, so I don't even know all these different types of leagues, but Bush always drops so much info. It's golden. Yeah, I mean, Mac, I believe you're one of more like, I've noticed with a lot of you guys, some of you guys are dynasty players, some of you guys are redraft players. I'm pretty sure Mac is more of like the redraft type, like as he kind of mentions here. It's cool to see you guys coming back to the pack though, like some of you guys that might be primarily redraft players, because I am going to get into some season-long content, like I said, this coming week. Also, for those of you guys though that are absolute diehard dynasty players, we are running a special series on the site. I've already recorded pretty much all my film breakdowns. I just need to cut it up and put it all together. Basically, what we're going to be doing is scouting the 2024 class. The same way I do for Tale of the Tapes. I broke down my top 10 quarterbacks, and with my top 5 quarterbacks, I broke down about a game and a half of film on those guys, about like 6-7 minutes worth of film study, just to give you guys an idea of the quarterback class that's incoming, some of my favorite prospects, how strong is the class going to be, what players have what skill sets, who's going to be the mobile quarterbacks, who are going to be the more pocket, pocket kind of quarterbacks. And I'm going to do the same thing for running backs. I'm going to do the same thing for wide receivers. That will not be available on YouTube. I'm not actually able to post that on YouTube. So it will only be available on the site, because I'll get, demonetized if I try and post it on YouTube. So if you want access to that series, you get way ahead of your league mates, right? And I think as the years go along where I'm, making content, I love the fact that I'm getting way more ahead of these rookie classes than I have the previous year. Because this time last year, I knew way more about the 2023 class going into the year than I did about the 2022 class. And this year, going into the 2024 class, I'm going to know way more about those guys, because I'm actually like breaking down film along with, collecting numbers and kind of determining what these guys do well. So the quarterback video will be live tonight. I'll have that up later on, 7, 8 o'clock Eastern. So if you want access to that, along with, of course, all of our dynasty rankings, all that good stuff, that will be available, flockfantasy.com, promo code FSE. I will throw the banner on the screen so you guys can see that. And that will also, for what it's worth, be the best way that you can get access to us. If you want us to do like a Zoom consultation with you right now, if you sign up annually, you can get a free Zoom consultation. Just reach out to us after you've done it. And that'll cover you. That annual subscription will give you 6 months for free. So that will cover you for 6 months totally for free. And it will cover you all the way until June of next year. So you'll have the redraft season on lockdown, the in-season content on lockdown, next year's prospects on lockdown, and rookie draft stuff on lockdown for that year subscription. And like I said, you can get a free Zoom consultation if you sign up now. So enough plugs though. Brandon says, if you take Dak in the second, would you rather pair him with Tua or Stroud? So if I'm taking Prescott, I would rather pair him with Tua just because Prescott is 30 years old. So he's more likely to be, a win now type of shell of a team that I'm building out versus Stroud, who's a very young quarterback. I expect him. It's funny that you say Tua or Stroud because I think they're going to have a very similar career trajectory where Tua took, a year and a half, 2 years to kind of see his value come to light. And then of course, midseason this year, he really saw a spike in value. With CJ Stroud, I think the offense is not very talented around him, but I think it will be once they start to build around him because I know he's a good prospect and I know he's a good quarterback. I just need to see them, kind of see what he does well, maybe go out and make a splash free agent trade or a free agent signing next year. Maybe Brandon Ayuk could be available or something like that. Obviously, the staff that's in Houston has worked with him. That would make a ton of sense. But to answer your question, I would go Dak and Tua if you were going to go with a quarterback in round 2 and round 3. Like Papa Tunes did here. He got Tua at the 3-4. Obviously, Dak went at the 2-11, but if he had not gone Burrow in the first round or something, he could have definitely gone with those two guys. Yeah, I should have taken Kyler at the 201, but to be honest, I want to Brees for fun. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too mad about people taking Bryce over Kyler, even though I personally would take Kyler because I love Bryce Young. You're never gonna hear me say that I don't love Bryce Young. You're fired. Yes. Agree on Pitts. Prefer slow drafts as well, but it's made me good at offering trades quickly. Yeah, dude, 5 minutes to make trades per pick can actually be an advantage. If you've done your homework ahead of time and you know where these players are supposed to go, your league mates might panic on the clock because they have no idea how to make these, valuations or whatever, especially if they're not, watching content or staying in tune to the draft season. So actually a fast draft might actually be an advantage in those kind of formats because people might just like make panic trades if they have no idea what to do or they don't like the board. JSN before DK, not sure how I feel about that. I personally would take Metcalf as well, but I don't hate it. Metcalf is, 26 years old. He's a little bit older for a receiver. He's probably only got like 3-4 years of production left. If somebody's building out a productive struggle, which it looks like Edit is because he has Jefferson, CJ Stroud, and then JSN there, I don't mind it. If I was ever not going to zero quarterback, I feel like team 10 is exactly the start I would want. So yeah, Chase, Bijan, Cooper Kupp, and McCaffrey. Yeah, Jared, you could definitely build out a really strong contender with this team because, with your next pick, we still have plenty of quarterbacks on the board. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, even Kenny Pickett if you wanted to go with a little bit of a younger guy, although I would probably go with somebody that's in their prime right now. So yeah, you could definitely build out a really strong contender to Jay's point there. The trade where I acquired Mahomes and Lawrence was during a startup draft. So you traded startup picks 2 to 6 to acquire them. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I thought you meant rookie picks. So you traded startup picks 2 to 6 to acquire them. I took Herbert with your, okay. All right. So you traded your rounds 2 through 6 picks and you still kept your own first. So you have Herbert, Mahomes, and Lawrence. Yeah, I think that's a fine trade to make. You could really kind of tank this out this year because you're probably not going to have a very good team around those quarterbacks and just kind of build out your depth with like 0 RB guys and like foundational wide receivers. I don't think you paid too much in that kind of format for sure. All right. So I'm on the clock here. Who do I want? Man, all the receivers are just dried up. The young guys just went like hotcakes. I'm going to look around here. Do I like anybody on the clock? Brandon Ayuk's got to be my highest rated receiver. That's probably the direction I'm going to go. Yeah, he is. He is my highest rated receiver, so that's where I'm going to go. Hopefully some other guys fall to me. I'm not even looking at the running back position because these guys, like, I if I'm in building out this type of format, you guys know I'm not going to be taking any running backs most likely. This is a 1-year punt type of team. This is the weirdest team I've made. Win now dynasty team feels so wrong. Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting Ridley there too, also great value there. You're going to have such a dangerous 3 stack of wide receivers and 2 stack of running backs. All you have to do really is get some like average quarterback play from Cousins and Geno and Jared Goff types, and you'll be fine. Any cheap RB buys you like in Dynasty? Define cheap. I think J.K. Dobbins is my favorite RB buy, but he's not necessarily the cheapest guy in the world. I will actually take this opportunity to look at our trade value chart, because our trade value chart is where I have listed who I have as a buy and who I have as a sell. And that, of course, is also available on Flock Fantasy if you guys want to check that out. And we have that for one quarterback leagues as well. So if you play in one quarterback leagues, we have you covered. So my cheapest RB buys, I have a good RB buy label on AJ Dillon. I think is an awesome buy right now because his outlook has really not changed at all, except his price has, because Aaron Rodgers is no longer there. I also have RB buy labels on David Montgomery if you're in need of production. I think you can get him for probably like an early to mid second. Same goes with Roshan Johnson, about a mid second round price tag on him. I think if you're looking for depth guys that have upside, like just if you have like maybe Bijan and Brees and, you know, Damian Pierce or something, and you're just looking for depth behind them, I also really like the Washington running backs, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. I really like Damian Harris if you're in a contending window. I also like Tyler Algier if you need some depth. James Conner, of course, if you need some flex plays. And I also like some of the other later round rookie running backs like Tajay Spears, Chase Brown, and Tank Bigsby. So I'm on the board here. I got 30 seconds left. Who do we got? My highest rated player. I figured Jahan Dotson was going to fall back to me. He did, in fact. I also do really like Marquise Brown at this point in time as well. With Hopkins gone, I do think Marquise Brown's going to have a lot of value, but I am not really a contending type of team. So I'm probably not going to go in that direction. I am probably just going to take Jahan Dotson and continue to build out this receiver core. This will be the type of team where I draft absolutely zero running backs unless they fall to me at a value. Love me some Addison, even in his rookie year. Yeah, I think for me, Addison has to be the rookie wide receiver one from a redraft perspective. Just given the Vikings' tendency that they showed last year to go pass heavy. They obviously cut their starting running back a couple days ago. So they're probably going to be a very solid passing offense. And even if Jefferson has 190 targets, which I think is absolutely within the range of outcomes for him, I think Addison could still be very efficient on 110, 120 targets. Adam Thielen was running like the third most routes in the NFL last year. They passed the ball a ton, and Addison, fresh legs, get him in the slot against number 2 and number 3 corners. He's going to eat. Man, I think Addison's in for like potentially like a Chris Olave caliber breakout season. Not necessarily the target share numbers that Olave showed, but just like the wide receiver 24 finishing points per game type of season. I could absolutely see for Addison. So Emma, this was the trade where you traded up from that's funny. So you traded with DeSource, who's in this draft, guy at 102. So you traded the 212, the 301, the 412, and a 24 second in the startup for the 102, the 811, and the 411. So I definitely like this trade for kind of both sides of it. You get Jalen Hurts, I believe is what you said you did. You trade down 212 was in this draft. The 212, who went 212? Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the 301 was Jonathan Taylor, but you maybe could have gone Kyle Pitts there. And then you give up the 412, which was again like somebody like Quentin Johnston type like that. And then a 24 second. I mean, that's a high price to pay, but Jalen Hurts is absolutely worth it. And then the 811, you're probably also going to get some fine receiver talent, maybe Deontay Johnson type fell to you or something like that. I think that's probably a decent trade for both sides. If you want the quarterback advantage, I don't think you paid too much, but I also like DeSource's side being able to fill out some depth. Oh, I'm for sure watching those tape breakdowns. Yeah, I'm very excited for those. I'm going to try and do my best to drop them every Sunday because there's not a whole lot going on right now. I figure it's best to get them out in June versus like trying to get them out in July when shit starts happening. So the quarterback one should be live by like 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. I'm going to make sure to get the running back one done by next Sunday, and then the wide receiver one the following Sunday. I might do a tight end one as well, but I'll probably just do top 5 tight ends and probably primarily focus on, Brock Bowers and Jatavion Sanders, who are like the best 2 tight ends in next year's class. But I'm really excited, man. After going through all these quarterbacks, I'm more optimistic about some of these guys breaking out than I was. So my biggest takeaway, just to give you guys a sneak peek, was I think this quarterback class might be better than people think. Even though my initial kind of takeaway was, man, Caleb Williams and Drake May might just be those 2 guys, and we might be wasting our time with, KJ Jefferson, Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix Jr., JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, like whoever. I think we're getting some legitimate buzz, from NFL draft scouts about guys like Bo Nix, about guys like Michael Penix, and we're also, looking towards the future with some of these guys that I think really could take a step forward this year. KJ Jefferson, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, JJ McCarthy. Some of those guys, I hope we get like a 4 first-round quarterback type of year next year. I think it's really in the range of outcomes, but I mean, Caleb Williams and Drake May are no joke, man. Those guys are fucking studs after watching their film. I have no doubt in my mind that those two will be the 101 and 102 in superflex drafts. Maybe Marvin Harrison sneaks over one of them. Maybe May, but I don't know, man. Those guys are awesome prospects. Jared said, "I am cooking something. We'll see if we'll see if it's good." Yeah, I think it's looking like a good win now type of team there that you got going. Rich X NGL, not gonna lie, I'm guessing I'm in a 14-man half PPR tight end premium dynasty league. No kickers, no defense, 4 flex, 1 super flex, first pick, and I'm planning on taking Mahomes. Any advice? I mean, let's take a look at what Chase ended up doing here, and I'll try and give you some advice around that. You're trying to trade up in the second round. Again, I think I think that's a good call, because if you want to bookend 2 quarterbacks, it's definitely, you're probably going to need to, unless Kyler falls back to you at 212, which I've seen happen. I've seen people say, "Oh, I got Kyler in like round 4." So I would say Kyler would be the guy that I would aim for, Rich. If Kyler starts to slide to you and you don't need to trade up, then I wouldn't. I wouldn't just like go out of my way to trade up for Watson or Fields or whatever when I know I can get Kyler if I stay put. So that's definitely something I would monitor, but it is a 14-man league and quarterbacks might go very highly. So if you wanted to strike while the iron's hot, get yourself 2 elite quarterbacks by trading up. I don't think that's a bad take or a bad advice, but it is a 14-man league, so you don't want to sacrifice too much depth in that format. That would be my advice for sure. Would you do a Zoom call, break down my team like Dynasty Decisions? Yes. So to Bobcat's question, annual signups will get a Zoom call one-on-one with me, and you can ask me anything. It can be your dynasty teams. We can do a Dynasty Decisions type of Zoom call. It can be redraft stuff. It can be best ball stuff. If you want to start a fantasy YouTube channel and you want some advice, I'll fucking help you with that too. I really don't care. It's anything you want to talk about. So yeah, that is a free gift for signing up annually on our site. And like I said, you'll get access to our rankings, you'll get access to our articles, bonus content, trade value charts, fucking running back age and touch apex data that we've talked about. And then, of course, those 2024 film breakdowns that I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, that's everything you need to know about that. I'm on the clock here. So, Attack of Titans has got some cash picks here. Okay, so I'm on the clock. I can't believe some of these wide receivers fell to me. I like Michael Mayer. I mean, if you guys weren't literally listening to me talk about this right now, I'd probably say, like, I'm going to hope to get Michael Mayer on the way back, but or Freiermuth, but maybe they go because you guys are in the chat listening to me. My highest rated wide receiver at the moment, I think it's Christian Kirk. It's either Christian Kirk or Deontay Johnson. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson because, yeah, I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson because I think knowing that he can become his team's number 1, this is something that's really sneakily underrated about Dynasty. When you're building a productive struggle, your goal is to think about trade liquidity to some degree, because some people won't trade for players like Christian Kirk because they view him as the team's number 2 receiver, for example. Knowing that, I'm going to actually extend this to more rounds because I thought I put it as 12 rounds. Is this not 12 rounds? It says 12 rounds, but I can only see 8 on my screen. Does anybody else not see more than 8 rounds? I don't know why it's showing like this for me. Really strange. Maybe I'll refresh my page. Maybe that's what's got to happen here. Okay, there we go. Now it's showing more rounds. Okay, there we go. We're good. All right, so back to my Deontay Johnson point. Because he can actually become the number 1 of his team, and some people will argue that George Pickens is going to be the long-term number 1. I will tell you to look at any stat from last year. Deontay Johnson having 150 targets proves he's the number 1. But he could really go up from an efficiency standpoint. I really like that that bet when you're building out a productive struggle. You want to bet on guys that have a chance to go up in value and be long-term stable assets for your team. And I think Deontay Johnson can do both for mine. I actually love that J.K. Dobbins pick. I can't believe he was still on the board. Also, the type of running back archetype that I'm going to take a shot on if I'm building out a productive struggle is one that I can sell mid-season. And I think J.K. Dobbins is that type of guy because people don't value him at the type of potential that I think he has. Okay, I'm back on the clock here. Freiermuth ended up going. Michael Mayer did not. Christian Kirk went too. Otherwise, I would probably go with him. I'm not huge on, I mean, like I love Josh Downs, but I think I don't want to take him quite this high. Elijah Moore is also very interesting. The running backs, I don't see anybody that's a huge value accumulator. DeAndre Swift, if you're a huge Swift guy, would definitely be probably worth this pick, I would say. I'm going to go Swift. I think Swift has the potential to be a guy that I could trade mid-season on this team. Even though I'm a little lower on Swift, I'm lower on Swift when I see him go in like round 6, round 5, but he's not going around 6, round 5 at the 8-4 here. So I'll take the risk on him. If this was a real league, I would probably shop Swift to a contender after a couple big games. and continue to kind of tank my team out, build out a productive struggle. So I definitely like that value on Swift. Just did a startup 12 team, start 10, PPR, 0.75 tight end premium. Quarterbacks are Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Sam Howell. Running backs, Aaron Jones, Gibson, Damian Harris, London, JSN, Deontay, Hollywood, Flowers, Downs, tight end, Pitts, and Dulcich. Thoughts on the squad? I mean, this looks like a pretty good one-year punt to me. Kyler's going to be off the field. Sam Howell's young. Aaron Jones probably doesn't belong on this team, but I'm imagining you probably just took the value on him. So if I were in your spot, I would probably, again, you got yourself like another like 1 year punt house money team. So it's clearly you've been paying attention to our channel here, IDUP. If I were you, I would probably try and sell any productive assets during the season. So if Aaron Jones has like 3 top 10 weeks in the first 5 weeks, I would probably try and get a early second for him or something like that, or maybe a young receiver that's having a down stretch. Maybe I'm trying to think who would be in that range. Maybe Brandon Ayuk is injured or something like that. Maybe you can swap Aaron Jones and maybe a small piece for Brandon Ayuk. So that's personally what I would be trying to do. I think you built this thing out pretty solid. You just need to kind of maneuver more trades. And I think when people are able to build out startups like this, the difference between you building out a very strong team in the long term and you kind of being stuck in the middle of the road for the rest of the team's life cycle is your ability to make trades when you think players are over and undervalued. I think making trades is probably the easiest way to create great dynasty teams in general, but especially when you've built out a team with a strong startup and have a strong foundation, your ability to make trades, continue to collect assets, and spend your picks and hit on your picks is obviously going to be the difference between you building out a strong dynasty in the long term and a team that kind of, is stuck in the middle of the road. How do you rank Kittle in PPR Dynasty? I will tell you right now because I have my rankings pulled up. I have George Kittle at my tight end 3 in Dynasty. I understand that TJ Hawkinson's younger than him. I understand that Travis Kelce is more productive in a short-term window than him. I would only take Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews over George Kittle. George Kittle's 28, 29 years old. He has I saw somebody tweet this out. I think it was Kyle. I can't remember his last name, but he works for NBC Sports. He tweeted out a graphic of the top, I think it was 15 tight end performances in yardage. George Kittle has 4 of them, and he's been in the league for like 5 years. Like the rest of the guys were all Hall of Famers, like Antonio Gates types and, Tony Gonzalez and Rob Gronkowski and stuff. Like in terms of raw yardage output in any given game, there's very, very few tight ends outside of Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, maybe, that give you the type of single game spike week production that George Kittle can give you. I understand he's injured sometimes. I understand he's got target competition and he's a little bit older, but I would take him over TJ Hawkinson. As much as I like TJ Hawkinson, as much as I like Kelce, I think George Kittle is a tight end 3 in Dynasty. And at very latest, he's the tight end 5 in a tier with those guys in Dynasty. If you can start all 3 quarterbacks, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting league format. No arguments there, Brock. I also love stacking those 2. Next year is one of the best years to productive struggle. Any top 3 pick is going to be valued super highly. I honestly I agree with your point, but I almost think that this is true almost any year. I get it. We have Caleb and Drake and Marvin, who are obviously going to be rivaled top 3 players of any draft class that we've had over the last 10 years based on what I've seen from them so far. But at the same time, I think productive struggle 1 year punt is always the best strategy, personally, because inherently you're going to have 6 to 8 to 10 people in your league that are doing the draft that are going to get antsy and going to want to try and win. So I think it's typically the smart smart alternative to what your league mates are doing. Unless you're in a room, obviously, where everybody's doing it, I think it's usually mostly a good strategy. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. No worries. Is that for people signing up now or people that have already signed up? If you've already signed up yearly, Brock, and you want to do it, I'm not going to be stringent on it. It is for new users who sign up on Flock Fantasy to get the Zoom call. But if you've already signed up for a yearly subscription, just hit me in the DMs and we'll set something up. It is 12. I see 12. Okay, yeah. So it looks like everybody sees it. You into UFC? Just had an event in Canada. I'm not really into UFC, if I'm being honest. I'll watch the odd huge fight, like when McGregor and fucking Khabib fight or something like that, or any of the big highly anticipated stuff. But I'm not a huge UFC guy, personally. Not Mad Titan taking Geno after I thought he would fall to my next pick. Yeah, you hate to see that. Travis Kelce got 5 years of high level production. Jeez. Do you know how old Travis Kelce is, Adam? He's 35 years old. Or 34 years old. 5 years of high level production, dude. He might go down as the best tight end of all time if that happens. I don't think he's got that much production left. I think Travis Kelce, you're hoping for, I think he's a 1-year production guy, because he's talked about potentially retiring. If you get 2 to 3 years out of him, I would consider that lucky. If you draft Travis Kelce as high as he went here, and even at the 412 is not even that bad. I've seen him go in like the 3rd round most of the time. If you get 3 years or 2 years even out of Travis Kelce, I would consider that a lucky pick, because I think he's only going to play 1 more year personally. He's already solidified himself as one of the best tight ends ever, already solidified his Hall of Fame case. He's already got multiple Super Bowl rings. I don't think there's much stopping him from retiring after this year, especially if he dealt with any kind of injury or maybe had a down season, or if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again or something like that. So I'm on the board here. Isaiah Pacheco is interesting. I'm not a huge Isaiah Pacheco guy, but at the 9-9, I think, again, to my point, when you're building on a productive struggle, A, I already have franchise quarterbacks, and B, I already have like 5 wide receivers that I believe in long term. Getting a guy that I could sell midseason like Isaiah Pacheco is definitely somebody that would interest me. I also am not a huge fan of the wide receiver board at this point in time. The tight end position is already dried up. Quarterback, I'm going to take Will Levis here, actually. Give me Will Levis. I'm not even huge on Will Levis, but as my 3rd quarterback for this team, I think getting a young guy that I think has a lot of upside is definitely a smart process pick. I also could have gone with Purdy as well, but I think it's a tad early on him. That's a good point. I mean, A-Rich, Bijan, and Young are already, yeah, exactly, right? If you look at this year, we're viewing Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, and Drake May, who are the top 3 prospects in next year's class, by a wide margin. As good as Brock Bowers is and as good as Raheem Sanders is, those guys are clearly the best ones, in my opinion. Bijan, Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young are all top 15 startup picks right now. So what does that mean for those guys? Like, are they going to be top 10 startup picks? Like, are we going to be taking Caleb Williams over Justin Fields? Are we going to be taking him over the receivers like LSU guys from Jefferson and Chase? I probably will, to be honest. If we're in startups this time next year, I will probably take Caleb Williams over those guys. As much as good of players as they are and as proven as they are, a long-term stud quarterback prospect like Caleb Williams is going to go high in startups. Trevor Lawrence was going at the end of the 1st round when he was coming out, and I think the same thing will happen with Caleb, and I think Harrison will probably be the dynasty wide receiver 3 in startups. Without playing a single snap, he will probably be right behind those guys in terms, and there's going to be people that probably argue him at 1, if I had to guess. Is it better to take stud quarterbacks early or wait it out? Okay, so loaded question. I would say, depending on where you're picking, you're looking at the tier break. So for me, where I was picking, Justin Fields and Kyler Murray was the way to go. I have Kyler Murray rated over everybody that went behind him. So for me, it was the way to go. If you're picking at 101, 102, 103, are you going to reach on Tua Tagovailoa if he's the best quarterback on the board? Probably not. I don't think that would probably be a smart idea. But when I can, I would say, yes, it is better to take your stud quarterbacks early in superflex formats. But if it's not possible, then I don't think you should force it. I did not get a tight end yet, so I think I might actually go Sam Laporta here. I don't get a ton of him. I think Gabe Davis is a pretty good value. Devon Achane's pretty decent value here. I think I actually probably have to take Achane. I have him rated higher than Laporta in my rookie rankings right now. Howell is also interesting too. I might take Sam Howell, honestly. No, I'm not going to, because I have Devon Achane rated as like a late 1st, and I do not value Sam Howell quite that highly. So I'm going to take Devon Achane here. Again, another guy, young running back. I could hold on to him. I could also trade him midseason if he had a big start to his career, but I got a young team. He'll probably fit in. Brock says, I'll let you know. Would probably just talk redraft, not Dino, if I decide to do that. Yeah, but by all means, if you guys have already signed up on Flock Fantasy using for an annual subscription, and you're like, hey, how come these new subscriptions get Zoom consultations, just hit me up and we'll set something up too. I would be interesting in that consultation, but I don't want to clog these slots up. Dude, don't worry about it. Don't worry about taking up my time. Like, this is my full-time gig. I want to help you guys for supporting us. It's something I want to do. It's not something that is a chore for me. So if you signed up annually and you want to book a Zoom consultation, by all means, just reach out to me and we'll do it. How do you determine when to put your chips into the middle when in a house money year? Tempting to spend picks on production to lock down my starting lineup. So this is probably the most common question that I get when it comes to house money years. Ideally, you don't ever push your chips into the middle. And what I mean by that is your team matures because you have a young team like the one that you outlined. Your receivers get better. They start to break out. Their 2nd and 3rd year kind of receivers, quarterbacks, same thing. Especially if you have like Kyler or somebody like that who needs to come back from injury. And then you spend your 2024 rookie picks, maybe on another running back or whatever.
and your team is ready to compete the next year. And your team just gradually, life cycle of it, became a contender. You didn't actually have to push your chips into the middle at any point in time. Your team just became a contender because your players developed. That's the ideal situation. But if you get to a point in time where, like your team, you only have Bijan mainly as your go-to running back, maybe you're picking in a range next year, you have like a pretty decent year and you finish like 107, 108, and you can't really get a great running back, then at that point in time, you can make a move or two moves, whatever, to kind of push your chips into the middle. I would say the only time you want to, quote, push your chips in is if you have a house money team entering the season, your young players step up in a big way, and it's mid-season. That's when you're pushing your chips in. I would not push my chips in before the season starts. I want to know how my young players are going to perform. And we will cover that in the video later this week. It sounds like a couple of you guys got some house money contenders, which makes sense because if you followed a 1 year punt last year, you probably have a lot of teams with house money years, and I'm in the same situation. So we'll definitely be talking about that. I would low-key just do a consultation and run an underdog draft. Yeah, we could fucking do that too. And also, for what it's worth, our best ball rankings are also live on the site as well. So if you guys are doing underdog drafts, you can use our best ball rankings. And I'm probably going to update mine pretty soon, post Alexander Madison news as well. What a mood. Yeah, I want a team that makes week 17 this year more than I want air to breathe. Dude, I have also not had a team make week 17. It's really difficult to do. I had two teams last year that had they got to week 16, but had they made week 17, would have finished highly because I had some guys that went off in week 17. So I'm very sad about that. And I was able to advance a Cam Akers team to week 16 and somehow not get it into the finals, even though he was the RB1 on the week, which I was really sad about. Yeah, these guys talking underdog stuff. Yeah, again, underdog drafts, so much fun. If you guys are not, like, Jared and Brock are perfect examples here, man. They're so much fun. They get more fun when you get throughout the season because you start sweating out some really good teams and you have chances to win like absurd prizes like $3 million to first place in Best Ball Mania, of course. And also, they're also just a ton of fun to do throughout the summer when it's the dead time of year, this time of year. And also they give you a ton of practice for your home league drafts as well. So that's the underdog fantasy prize pool for Best Ball Mania 4. Of course, definitely check them out. Use the promo code FSE. You guys know what to do. And also, I don't know if I've plugged this enough on our site right now. If you're an Underdog Fantasy member and you have not, it doesn't matter if you used our code, if you used Mason's code, it doesn't matter who. Just by being both a site member and having an Underdog account, you will get $10 free to use on Underdog. So that's another thing that I probably should plug more often, but we do also have that promotion available for site subscribers as well. So I'm on the clock here. Again, AJ Dillon's very interesting, given the upside for him to kind of accumulate value mid-season. I've already kind of talked about that's my strategy. Sam Howell didn't fall to me. I probably would have taken him if he did. Let me see. Tight end. Do I have a tight end? I don't even have a tight end yet. So how the fuck is Greg Dulcich on the board? That is ridiculous, man. What are we guys doing here? 11-9, Greg Dulcich. Jeez, I'm glad I didn't take Michael Mayer at 8-7 or at 8-4. That is crazy. I can't believe I just got Greg Dulcich there. 12 team superflex PPR startup. Give 111, 611, 1502 and a 2024 first. Get 103 and 802. One of those top three quarterbacks. Too much. Is it worth it? Okay. 111, you gave up like Watson, right? 611, you probably gave up like a wide receiver 2 type, wide receiver 3, like Terry McLaurin went here, Zay Flowers, maybe Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, somebody like that. And then 1502, could care less. It's probably not that good of a player in a 2024 first. So 802, you probably also got a half decent. There's probably not really a big difference between the guy you got at 611 versus 802. Like, I mean, we got J.K. Dobbins here at 802, Terry McLaurin at 611. I think J.K. Dobbins is rated higher than Terry McLaurin in my rankings right now. So I definitely don't hate that. Sorry, I'll show the board so I'm not trolling here. I think that's probably worth it. If you got yourself, 103, you probably got Jalen Hurts with that pick, Josh Allen with that pick, Mahomes with that pick. I think that's probably a worthwhile trade there, TK. For real, I was watching Bills games last year just to watch my Allen Diggs team. Certainly best watching my Colts last year. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Brock already used his bonus money for being a site subscriber. Okay, what do we got here? I'm not loving the tight end board. I already took Dulcich, so I probably won't invest in that position anymore. I like some of the receivers on the board at the moment. I'm going to take AJ Dillon though, dude. I think this is like way too late for him. Again, I didn't intend to take any running backs really, but of course you guys know we don't draft running backs highly, and therefore some of these guys actually fell a little bit to the point that I was willing to take them. So I'm pretty much in a 1-year punt type of team. You guys can see how I built it out. I got myself my 2 lockdown studs long term. London, Addison, Ayuk, Dotson, Deontay Johnson. Those guys will hopefully lock down my wide receiver core for me. And then I have DeAndre Swift, Devon Achane, and AJ Dillon as potential trade chips, as guys that maybe I could hold. Maybe more so Achane because he's the younger of the guys there. Swift and AJ Dillon are both in contract years this year. Of course, if you haven't checked out the contract year running back video, go check it out, because those guys could really find themselves in a spot to have a lot of production this year. So definitely interested in this team, how it would kind of play out. I would definitely look to shop some of those guys. Dolchich and Levis, I just think were really good values as well. Will Levis as a third quarterback. It wouldn't shock me this time next year if, let's say this is how the Titans season could play out. Ryan Tannehill starts the first 6 or 7 games. The Titans are not good. They lose a bunch of games. They trade Derrick Henry. They bench Ryan Tannehill and or trade Ryan Tannehill if there's like an injury around the NFL. Maybe somebody wants to trade for him. Will Levis starts the rest of the season, and he showcases flashes. I don't think he's going to be great the rest of the season, but he showcases flashes. And he looks like Kenny Pickett did towards the end of the year. He looks like, I don't know, name any quarterback rookie guy that looks kind of good at the end of their rookie season. Will Levis will be a 3rd or 4th round startup pick this time next year. So with this team that I've built out, grabbing a guy in the 9-9 who I don't need, who could become a 3rd or 4th round starter pick, your goal as a rebuilding team, a 1-year punt team, is to make your team as valuable as humanly possible. So when you have a guy that falls, that can accumulate a ton in value, it's definitely a guy that I'm going to go after. And I'm not even high on Will Levis. You guys know I didn't really love him pre-draft. I thought he was overdrafted if he was going to go in the 1st round. Of course, he slides to the early 2nd round, and that presents some kind of concern because the draft capital, if the Titans are picking really high next year, might not factor in. Like if the Titans are like one of the worst teams in the league and they have Caleb Williams or Drake May on the board, they're going to pick them. I don't think Will Levis would stop them, but I do think Will Levis is talented enough that he might see another opportunity. So I think that's like a high risk, high reward type of pick there at 9-9. And these guys are still talking about underdog drafts in the chat here. I totally thought that was going to happen in the draft process. So did I, dude. I really thought the Falcons were going to trade for Ryan Tannehill as well, if that's what you're referring to. Kind of wish it did. Yeah, I agree too. I think Tannehill, but here's the thing though. The one thing that's underrated about Desmond Ridder and the whole Falcon situation is, even though Arthur Smith has notoriously been a run heavy coach and is going to be, they drafted a running back in the 1st round, Ryan Tannehill had his best seasons under Arthur Smith, right? And he was actually a top 12 fantasy quarterback. And the weapons that Desmond Ridder has are better than the ones that Tannehill had. And Tannehill was a veteran quarterback and all that stuff. But if Desmond Ridder can take a step forward this year, he has Drake London, who could become an absolute stud alpha wide receiver. Kyle Pitts could be the unanimous like best tight end in Dynasty, not even close if they have a breakout season this year. And Desmond Ridder might actually hold on to that job. So Ridder's a guy that I'm like, where did he go in this draft? He went 11-4. I think, honest to God, like right now, I would take Desmond Ridder over Derek Carr and Mac Jones. Legitimately, I would rather have Desmond Ridder. Give me the upside. Again, similar to Will Levis, this guy's already got good weapons around him. He already has a little bit of mobility to his game. He has like a decent arm, not a great arm. But his coaching staff and GM and front office clearly believes in him to some extent. Desmond Ridder has the chance to also become a 3rd, 4th, 5th round startup pick if he has a good season this year. And he might be, kind of a breakout player with the offense that he's dealing with. So I think Desmond Ridder also a little underrated. For the first time in a while, I think we have a lot of upside in the like round 8 to 12 range at quarterback. I like Will Levis there. I like Sam Howell there. I like Brock Purdy there. I like Desmond Ridder there. These guys are perfect quarterback 3s. For those of you guys that built out 1-year punts or productive struggles, get yourself 2 studs early and get yourself one of these dudes as your 3rd quarterback. That's my favorite strategy this year. And it's also one that I deployed. I took Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott in a like house money 1-year punt type of Devy league. And then I grabbed Sam Howell as my 3rd quarterback. And then I have KJ Jefferson, Jackson Dart, and Shadur Sanders in the Piper because it's a Devy league as well. So I'm really excited about that. Could you rank the 12 teams on the board? Okay. From 1 to 12, I don't know if I'm going to have the mental capacity to do that, but I really, really love what DeSource did. Get yourself 2 stud quarterbacks. Kyle Pitts is your tight end and tight end premium. Jacobs and Stevenson, good contending type of running backs that won't be completely useless this time next year. McLaurin, Cooper, Downs. I mean, I don't love the receiver core. He's pretty light there. I probably would have went with a receiver here instead of Rashad White. Maybe like a Mike Evans or a Mike Williams, just because you're building out a contender. I think you kind of pivoted your strategy a little too much. I would have continued to stay with the contending theme. After you took McLaurin, after you took Cooper, if you would have taken Evans and Mike Williams with those next 2 picks, I think you would have had a very formidable wide receiver core. I think Madison was a great value at 10-11 there. Howell's a pretty good value as well. So I like that team for sure. I also Attack of Titans has a pretty solid team as well. I like the Allen, Olave, Gibbs, Walker. Walker a little bit early for me, but not bad overall. I like Chase. I don't like Kelsey there. Personally, I can't draft Travis Kelsey. I understand he's giving me like such a positional advantage. I just can't do it. I like McFlyup's team here as well, with Trevor Lawrence, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Christian Watson, George Kittle, Marquise Brown, those type of dudes. Your quarterback 2 is very suspect though, with Mac Jones as that guy. I also like this team, Lamar Jackson, Garrett Wilson, with Pickett there. Pretty solid. I also like my team, of course. Edit's team is pretty solid, but again, I like that you stuck to your strategy though. I really like how you went Stroud, Danny Dimes, Jordan Love, young quarterbacks, young receivers. Not a lot of investment in the running back position, young tight end. I like that strategy that you pulled off. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite teams for sure. Cern King, Jared, also great win now kind of construction there. Chase, Robinson, Kupp, McCaffrey, Ridley. Those guys are going to be studs. Hopkins, Cousins, Rodgers and Njoku, Jones. I like that for a win now contender. Not a huge fan of Mad Titans investment, just the way that you went about it. I would have gone, I like if you love Lamb, sure. I think that's a fine pick. Although I would have prioritized Watson first and then hoped Lamb fell back to me, or gone with Richardson there. And then I like how you kind of invested in wide receivers pretty heavily as well. And the running backs you took, I think you got good value on. So it's an okay team. I just think the way that you structured the positions a little bit differently than how I would have done it. And then I like Brock's team quite a bit too, with Watson, with Young, and then with the other wide receivers that you got there. So I'm going to close out this video and answer a bunch of questions here. My nephew is getting baptized in about an hour, so I do need to be on my way, about a 20-minute drive away for that. So I will close out these questions and then I will hop off here. So Brock says, I doubt the Titans get Williams or maybe with Vrabel as their coach. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the Titans will probably be like a 6 or 7 win team, even if it's, Tannehill / Levis as quarterback. I think the team is well coached. The defense is good enough that they can probably win a couple games. Ritter or Howell? I like Howell better. I'm going to stick to my pre-draft evaluation. I had Sam Howell quarterback 1 in that class. I had Desmond Ritter quarterback 3 in that class. I think it was Howell, Corral, Willis, Ritter. Sorry, I had him quarterback 4, and then I had Pickett 5, which is looking stupid, but I'm correcting my mistake because I've seen enough from Pickett to say that he's definitely better than I thought he was. How do you like my team? Papa Tunes. Where are you? Papa Tunes. Oh, there you go. I didn't even talk about your team. I'm sorry. Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle, Tua. I don't love the Eckler pick, if I'm being honest. I would have gone probably with Jacobs there instead, just get a little bit more longevity. And I also don't love taking Kincaid that high, especially knowing Kittle was on the board. And you kind of went for like more of a contending type of window. I would have definitely went Kittle over Kincaid. My advice would be to stay consistent. If you're going to take Austin Eckler, at that point in time, you are a contender. The rest of your team needs to be a contender. If you're going to go half-ass contender, half-ass rebuilder, it's going to probably serve you poorly, and you're going to end up being a middling team in your league. You're better off fully committing to something, contender or rebuilder, than you are trying to build out a balanced team. Balanced teams work sometimes. It's very difficult to build them because a lot of people either value youth or they value contending pieces, depending on the room that you're in. But if you build out, if you take Austin Eckler, you gotta contend. Taking Dalton Kincaid, in my opinion, was a mistake there. Same with Zay Flowers as well. Right. Plus Pitts is a tight end. Tight ends don't break out until years 3 to 4. Yeah, dude. Pitts could really, really make some people look stupid. I've seen some dumbass takes about Kyle Pitts being like not even good, and I'm like, come on, guys, like, what are we doing here? But it wouldn't shock me either if Pitts has like another good peripherals but not good production season. My team is running that league once Travion bounces back. Saw people go back and watch his freshman tape, said it was insane. Yeah, dude, I think Travion Henderson will be very interesting. Hopefully he has the J.K. Dobbins career trajectory, where like Dobbins had a great freshman year, down sophomore year, and it kind of hurt him a little bit, and he was hurt during that year, but then he rushed for like 2,000 yards his junior year. So hopefully Travion has a great season this year, because he could definitely be, right up there with the top assets in next year's class. and I'll break him down. So I'll be watching his freshman tape, and I'll show you guys how good this guy actually is. He's a fucking 215-pound back with 4.4 speed, and he can catch the ball. He had like a 7% target share his freshman season, which is extremely impressive on a team that had JSN, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson. Thanks, man. Was fun. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good comment to close out on. Like I said, there was a little bit of plugs in this video, so I apologize for that, but we got to pay the bills somehow. Definitely check out flockfantasy.com. Use the promo code FSE for 30% off. 6 months for free if you sign up annually. If you sign up annually, you can get a one-on-one Zoom consultation with myself, with Danny, whoever you want to do it with. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. That is a free gift to you for using our promo code on an annual subscription only. If you sign up monthly, you do not get that, but you do get access to all of our bonus articles, dynasty rankings, best ball rankings, trade value charts, all the stuff that we've been pumping out there. All my prospect evaluations are still on there from the pre-draft cycle. I'm going to throw my historical grades database on there too, so you can see how they graded relative to prospects of the last 3 draft classes as well. But definitely check that out if you're interested. Also talked about Underdog a little bit. Use promo code FSE for 100% back. And of course, if you have both accounts, you'll get $10 bonus on top of your Underdog account as well. So peace out, guys. We'll talk to you soon.